Dun, dun, dun. Okay,
Does it
one,
look weird that
two.
what's happening? Oh, wait a
Oh,
minute. Wait a minute.
you good? Oh, is it still? If it's still, it's all good.
Greatness can fly under the radar when it's overshadowed by an abomination. Coming up on today's episode of Locked On Canucks, we'll cover the greatest single seasons ever by Canucks defensemen. Guess who's going to appear on that list? It's Beggsy and it's Bhawan, and you're listening to Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for hitting the play button on today's episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, Canucks writer and credentialed media member for Daily Hive Vancouver. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. And before we get started on today's show, we want to thank you for listening to Locked On Canucks. It's your team every day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. On today's show, player review season, going to go through Quinn Hughes, Ethan Bear, and really the two stories with them. Off the top with Quinn Hughes, did he just have the greatest single season ever by Canucks defenseman? I'm going to get to Ethan Bear as well. What is his new deal going to look like? And how did he actually play for the Canucks last season? What letter grade are we giving Ethan Bear? But first and foremost, a guy who I would give an A++. My co-host Kyle Bhawan. How you doing, brother?
A++. The only class I got an A+ in was drama and media arts and social studies. Social studies 10, I believe. Shout out to Mr. Atwall. Shout out to Surrey. Beggsy Kyle from Surrey. We lead with love. And Locked On Canucks, man, your team every day. So many episodes, man. Monday to Friday, we just banging these out. For real, for the people, for the most important people in my life. I have said this many times, yo. My mom and dad, the Locked On fans, right above them. All right? I see them more than I see my parents. And actions speak louder than words, okay? Again, Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Beggsy Kyle. We'll get to your comments at the end of the show because, yo, the best is always safe for last. And a lot of people not wanting Milan Lucic on the Canucks. And that makes way too much sense. And this episode is going to make a lot of sense, too. I think we're going to be talking about the best Canucks defensive years or the best years for Canucks defensemen of all time, blah, blah, blah. We're going to be talking about Quinn Hughes for the next 7 minutes. And I know Beggsy's a nerd here. He's probably got a couple stats about Sammy Salo and a dude named Brown and Lume and Jovanovski and whatnot. But we're going to be talking a lot about Quinn Hughes here.
Yeah, and I think the main point I wanted to make on today's show was that Quinn Hughes just had the greatest season ever by a Canucks defenseman. This team's been around 50-plus years. What he did this season was incredible. Point per game rate, pretty much. It was the best season ever by a Canucks defenseman. But as I said in my first sentence off the top, greatness can be overshadowed when you're dealing with an abomination, which is the Vancouver Canucks. Okay? I mean, there's been so much drama, so much controversy with this team over the past 12, 18 months, hell, the past decade, that we sometimes forget about the good things in this city. And that's why today I wanted to just kind of respect Quinn Hughes and his greatness. I gave Kyle an A++. I'm giving Quinn Hughes an A+++. Okay? I don't even care. Yeah. We're making it up on Locked On Canucks here. But again, Quinn Hughes, for a number of reasons, just had the best season by defenseman in Canucks history. I'm going to throw a couple stats at you quick here. Okay, Kyle? 69 assists. Nice. Who doesn't
69,
love
overrated?
69?
No, it's overrated, man.
I
it's
disagree.
Overrated. We all know it. 69 is overrated. We don't have to get into it because it's a family program, but 69 is overrated. Continue.
Yeah. Quinn Hughes had 69 assists. That was the most ever by a Canucks defenseman. He broke his own record from last season when he had 60 assists. And the record before was 55 assists. Okay, so Quinn Hughes absolutely just shattering what's ever been done by Canucks defensemen. He also had 41 even strength points. That was a record that was set by Dale Talon back in the Canucks inaugural season back in 1970-71. So Quinn Hughes had 41 even strength points last season. Dale Talon posted 39 the Canucks' first ever season. So breaking records that are older than you and I, which is saying something because you're not getting old.
Dude, we're old, man. My back hurts again. A lot of sitting, dude. Unbelievable. Okay, Quinn Hughes, all these stats, all these numbers. You said it you said it earlier about how last year was the he did it. He had the best Canucks season as a defenseman of all time. I feel as if Quinn Hughes did that in his rookie season, his full rookie season. He already did that. Real talk. I know he's been better since his rookie season, but I'm just saying when he broke into the league and he played a full season for the Vancouver Canucks, he had the best season ever recorded as a Canucks defenseman.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. And I know people who have been with us since the old network know that pretty much when Quinn Hughes was like 10 games into his NHL career, Kyle was saying he was the best defenseman in Canucks history. And a lot of people disagree with you, Kyle. What do you have to say to them now?
I have to say, really, you're bringing up Alex Edler and Matthias Ohlund? Relax. At the time, I was a little confused. I think people thought I was just saying it just to say something, competitive market. Maybe I was trying to stand out, but it was pretty obvious, 10 games in, he was the best guy to ever play defense for the Vancouver Canucks. And we're so lucky. We're so lucky to have him. So lucky to have him signed to a long-term deal. You want to talk about Jim Benning and all the bad moves he made? This is definitely the best move or the best acquisition Jim Benning ever made for the Vancouver Canucks. First drafting him and then extending him for a very long time for what is a really, really affordable deal.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and I really don't want to give Jim Benning too much credit at all for drafting Quinn Hughes because there's no way he should have ever slipped to 7th at the Canucks. That might have been the luckiest thing to ever happen to the Canucks. Maybe actually, you know what? Maybe I'll put the BX stanchion goal as the luckiest thing to ever happen to the Canucks, and I'll put Quinn Hughes being selected by the Canucks as the second luckiest thing ever. I guess the question I wanted to pose, Colin, I know we both know the answer, but let's just dive back a bit. Let's go back in the time machine. Is there any argument against the fact that Quinn Hughes just had the best ever season by a Canucks defenseman?
The only argument I would make is bringing up the season he had. I think it was his second season, right? His second full season when the Canucks made the playoffs. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, that was his first full season. So he played 5 NHL games, and then 2019-20 was his rookie season, right? Because it was cut short by COVID. He was going to break all the records as a rookie.
That was his rookie season. Again, I'm getting older. I'm losing my marbles. I can't believe I stumbled upon that bag. But Quinn Hughes was so impressive the whole season. And what he did in the playoffs too, in games that mattered, it was remarkable. I didn't even think it was possible, because again, we've been watching Canucks hockey for a long time. We've seen our stars time in and time out not show up with the points in the playoffs. And here was a rookie defenseman doing it with ease. He was arguably every single time a hockey game was played between the Canucks and another team, the second best player playing that game. It was either Pettersson or him, or maybe Mark Stone, but he was up there, being the most important player on the ice. And I would have to say that's the only season. I know he's gotten better defensively and offensively. I guess it's like somewhat the same, a little bit better, but just because those games mattered so much and he stepped up to the plate, even in the regular season when the team was competing and whatnot, that's the only season I would compare to the one that we're talking about, which was last season. And yeah, the games mattered, man. Quinn Hughes is such a competitor, man, and it allows me to just daydream about a time in life where, again, hockey matters in this market, like the actual ice hockey games and not assumptions, so we can see him do it on the ice. Pause. But I'm excited for the future of Quinn Hughes playing meaningful games for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, and I think everyone in this market is. You bring up his rookie season, and I think an important thing that we kind of forget about now because this team has missed the playoffs in 3 straight years, Quinn Hughes set the record for most points by Canucks defensemen ever in the postseason back in 2019-20.
Yeah.
And I know those stats got juiced a bit because they counted the play-in tournament, which was an extra 4 games for the Canucks. But Quinn Hughes had 16 points in 17 games, which was the record. Yeah. I mean, it's just the guy's been unreal since day one. One stat I did look at in terms of trying to compare Quinn Hughes to defensemen of past eras was point shares. And I mentioned it on the Pettersson episode this Monday about Wolf Pettersson finishes the greatest Canuck of all time. Every day is aware of that. But if you didn't listen to it, go check it out here on the Locked On Canucks network. But Quinn Hughes, in terms of point shares, had contributed 10.2 points to the Canucks last season. So
what does that
only
mean?
season I found that was higher than that was Christian Ehrhoff back in 2010,
Ooh.
2011. He contributed 10.4 points to the Canucks. But here's the thing. I think, point shares, again, I talked about it briefly on Monday. It's a bit of a flawed stat because it really kind of has a bias towards ice time. but Christian Ehrhoff too on that 2010-11 team. That team was winning President's trophies, right? So it's easy to have a higher contribution of point shares when the team has more points. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and
Yeah.
Ehrhoff was like, that was one of the best seasons ever by a Canucks defenseman, no doubt. Like Ehrhoff was in his prime, 50 plus points, fairly responsible on the defensive side of the puck. And yeah, but that was one of the really the only competitors. Like I had Jurke Lumi down from 93-94, 8.2 point share. And then in 2011-12, when the Canucks won the President's Trophy after the 2011 finals, all of Ham, Hughes, Edler, and BX were all over 8-point shares. So that's an important thing to remember, right? Like we're going to Locked On Canucks, baby. Your team every day. The podcast is going to pump Quinn Hughes' tires every day. But in order to be in that Stanley Cup contending tier, you need to have 3 defensemen on your team, like the Canucks had in 2011-12, who are all contributing or having a massive contribution to the team, like Ham, Hughes, Edler, and Bieksa did.
Yeah, man. And what makes Quinn Hughes even more impressive, and especially what he did this season, and I'm actually being a little bit nice to him too, because I don't like to put so much emphasis on hockey games that don't matter, meaningless games. The Canucks were out of it by late November, but the fact that he was able to get better defensively and also do so while playing with everyone, and everyone included Luke Shen, Ethan Bear, who knows who, Tyler Myers, who knows who else this guy played with, Kyle Burrows. He just played with, get what I'm saying? He just didn't have a supporting cast, and he was able to get better, which is hard to do. His rookie season, we brought it up. It wasn't the best defensive core. It was far from it, but at least he's playing with Chris Tanev.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, people are talking about Luke Shen being that steadying presence. Luke Shen and Quinn Hughes were not a successful pairing this season. I mean, they had an expected goals for share of 43%, which is pretty putrid. It was just like marginally ahead of what Myers and Ekman Larson delivered for the Canucks. So, yeah, Luke Shen was a bit of an anchor this season. He wasn't really providing that Chris Tanev presence, even though he was chucking the body around. But at the end of the day, Quinn Hughes, I think he can elevate a lot of players, right? And we saw that with Ethan Bear, and he can play with anybody, and the guy's going to be successful. So bigger and better things to come from Quinn Hughes. But for the Canucks, it's about bolstering this blue line. Like they got Hronek in place, they paid a hefty price to get him. I think you need at least one more blue liner who's going to potentially give that impact that Hronek's going to provide, right? Like just so the Canucks are in that 2011-12 mode where it's Ham Hughes, Bieksa, Salo, those kind of guys who are all really having strong contributions to the team.
Yeah, and you brought up what's his name? Did he sign with LA? Gavrikov? Did he sign yet?
If he has it, you're breaking the news to me. So I don't think he signed there. No.
Yeah, and I was daydreaming again on the cruise over here, and I know a lot of people have been giving us ridicule for maybe starting the whole Besser to Chicago, and us giving the 11th pick with Besser to drop down to 19 so we can alleviate some cap. Like, yo, Chicago, do us a favor too. Yo, take Myers too. Take Myers too, man. For real. For real,
yeah,
man.
Maybe I'll touch on it on the end of the show. I read a pretty funny trade proposal about Tyler Myers and the Detroit Red Wings. But let's get to Ethan Bear on the other side, and I'll touch a little bit on Tyler Myers there too. But first, what ad am I reading? Oh, it's FanDuel. FanDuel. Make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs. Yeah, it took me some time, Kyle, but I got there. Because guess what? Right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's okay. Kyle, would you say 2,500? Would you say 2,500? Okay, I'd say 2,500.
It's safer.
Yeah, and it just rolls out the tongue more. I know this ad read's got me saying 2,500, but if you're on FanDuel, that's 2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Okay, Kyle and I made our picks on the NBA playoffs. I'm going Denver. Kyle's going with the Miami Heat. No matter who you're choosing, go make that bet. Go make that bet on FanDuel. Some of the things we love about betting on FanDuel, there's great promotions every day. The app is safe and secure, and you get paid instantly. No waiting around, okay? This is 2023. People are impatient. No one wants to wait around to get paid. So, yeah, there's no better place to place a bet on all the playoff action than on America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
You're back on Locked On Canucks. Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs, talking all things Quinn Hughes, talking all things defense, right? Because the best defense is the best offense. Do you believe in that in life? In life, like, what does that mean philosophically in life? Does it mean you just sit back, you relax, you don't attack, you don't take chances? Break it down for me, all right?
That's a great question. I was thinking like more in terms of, like let's say you're trying to find a lady or a man. I think you got to go on the offensive a bit. You can't just sit back and wait for play defense and wait for that person to fall into your lap. I think if you're trying to find a significant other, you gotta go out there.
Oh
And,
man.
and even in my day job too in the world, I think you gotta go chase opportunities sometimes. So no, I disagree with the fact that the best defense is the best offense. Maybe in sports, but I don't think that applies to life.
Balance, baby. Balance, baby. I told you the story. The day I asked my girl out, I thought I had a 1% chance, right? But I had to get the feelings off my chest so I can move on in life, right? The next the next day I was going on a bro trip. We're gonna take some, we're gonna make some mushroom omelets, if you know what I'm saying. So I want to be clear. I want to be clear, okay? So even though I thought I had a 1% chance at getting the girl, I still had a rose in my trunk. Fast forward 2 years later, boom, bam, I'm looking for birthday gifts. All right, for real, for real, for real. Locked on Canucks, Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs. Keep the rose in the trunk, okay, fellas? For real, for real. Ethan Bear. I think we talked about this maybe like 7 weeks ago, trying to guess that deal that he's going to sign, being an RFA with the Canucks. And the Canucks do need Ethan Bear
Yeah.
to sign with the Canucks. Let's be real. What's that number? What's that number to you now? Has it changed? Has it lowered?
I think it's pretty close to 3 million, to be honest with you.
Ooh.
So again, maybe if it's a 1-year deal, a proven deal, maybe it's in the low twos, but you kind of look at the market for defensemen, and Ethan Bear, by ice time, by points, was basically a low end top 4 defenseman. And we saw in the free agent market, again, he's not an UFA, he's an RFA, but we saw in the free agent market, those 30-year-old defensemen who are much less productive and valuable than Ethan Bear were signing for like $2.75 million. So, I think at the end of the day, Ethan Bear is going to go out there, look at some comparables, and I would say that a low-end top 4 defenseman is probably getting in the neighborhood of $3 million. Plus, if the Canucks are going to do that, Ethan Bear is theoretically in his prime, 25 years old. They're going to buy a UFA year as well. And then, if it does go to arbitration as well, which he is arbitration eligible, I think he's got a good case to get paid. Because, again, you look at this, this terrible Canucks defense, and Ethan Bear, aside from Quinn Hughes, in my opinion, was the best defender on the team last year. Like I just talked about earlier, how, Quinn Hughes and Luke Schenn had pretty disastrous underlying metrics together. Ethan Bear's 2 most common partners were Quinn Hughes and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Now with Quinn Hughes, like they shot the lights out. I mean, they were outscoring opponents 2-1, good underlying metrics. But even with Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who had a disastrous season, the guy was terrible. Oliver Ekman-Larsson was treading his head above water with Ethan Bear as well. So I again, there's an argument that Ethan Bear doesn't really do anything great.
All I got to say is they got to win this negotiation. I said it before, I know that you have to pay people what they're worth and whatnot, but we're talking about the NHL. We're talking about the Vancouver Canucks. We're talking about a team that understands that next season matters. The fan base knows that too. This team being the most expensive team in the NHL and also being one of the crappiest, right? Next season matters. So they have to win this negotiation. And I think they have to pay Ethan Bear what he's not worth. I know in 2023, that's some sensitive things to say, right? Oh, look what I just said. But we're talking about, again, the professional sports league in the world of hockey, right? They got to win this negotiation, and I hope that they do. I hope that they get a guy and they sign him, and that player's available to play over that value. Because if you pay Ethan Bear $3 million, I don't know if he plays above that. I don't know. And
we might feel like he plays above that if he spends most of his time playing with Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, true.
But is he actually worth that? That's another question.
And honestly, though, if he does play above it because he's playing with Quinn Hughes, it's not the worst thing in the world. It is what it is. You need all parts to fit on a team, and everyone's got to play their role. And if he's being lifted by Quinn Hughes' excellence, so what? So what? Because that could mean that the Canucks are doing good, playing better. Again, it's just a negotiation that they have to win. And I feel bad for saying this because I like Ethan Bear. You guys know this. I love Ethan Bear. He took the day off an NHL game because his dog passed away. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Beautiful thing. And he was getting ridiculed for it too, which Remember that? Was it Andrew
Well,
Walker? Didn't
yeah,
Andrew
it
Walker
was
say, really? This guy's missing a NHL game because his dog passed away? Well, what's he doing? Well, first of all, he's playing for the Vancouver Canucks. The team sucks. You know what I'm saying? Take the day off. It doesn't really matter. These games don't matter. And your dog passed away. That's a family member. Bro, yesterday I hugged my dog for like 4 minutes. It was a close hug because I haven't seen him in a long time. So to Andrew Walker, you must like cats, for real. You must be a cat guy.
I don't think Andrew Walker likes anything except his own reflection in the mirror, to be honest with you. But no, I think there's a good chance that now that I think more about it, Ethan Bear hasn't had a lot of continuity in recent seasons. Was a young chap in Edmonton, goes to Carolina, gets beat out for a job by Jalen freaking Chatfield, and then comes here. And, I thought his end of season interview was just fascinating when he talked about how Carolina played with so much structure and he came here and he lost. And he kind of talked about at the end of the season how things are moving in the right direction, but maybe they're not quite there yet. So I like to believe that there's more to see from Ethan Bear. I hope they get him signed. Again, if it's over $3 million, you got to start asking yourself some questions. But I think that's kind of the bar right now, is in that $3 million territory. But at the end of the day, I mean, if next season matters, the Canucks pair Hughes and Bear together, that's fine. But you got to find a top 4 defenseman to play with Horodic. It cannot be Oliver Ekman-Larsson next season. It just can't be if this team's going to move forward.
I think that's like priority number 1 for you this offseason. We'll talk about that more right before the offseason, but I definitely want to ask you what's more important. Is it signing Pettersson to an extension or finding another top 4 defenseman? Locked on Canucks, your team every day. Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs. I love the talk, right? Defense first. Defense wins championships. Defense is the best offense sometimes in life. Who knows? And yeah, man, just enjoying this everyday thing, connecting with the city, talking to the people. It's a beautiful thing. You and I are blessed, man.
Yeah, we sure are blessed. And we're even, one of the main reasons we're blessed is because of the listeners, okay? And we saved the best for last. Comment corner on the other side. Let's go, baby. Locked on Canucks.
You're back on Locked on Canucks, your team every day. Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs. Thursday, man. I've said it so many times, right? For years and years and years and years and years and years. Thursdays definitely become the new Friday. And for real, man, we doing things on my network all week with Kyle Bhawan. We doing things here, who knows? We're doing things for the city of Surrey as well. We're trying to be the connoisseurs of British Columbia. I'm going to make sure that one day, every single citizen in this beautiful province of ours, right? West Coast bias, extremely prevalent on this show, gets Thursday off as well. Let's extend a weekend or something, That's crazy, though. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm thinking out of my ass. Let's not go there. That wasn't a really thorough thought, but you get what I'm saying? I care about the people, and I want people to live more of their life on Thursdays.
I like it, man. Kyle for Mayor Surrey. That's
No
what I'm
way.
voting for.
F being mayor, bro. What's the point of that? What is the point of that?
So you can give
No
people
point at all.
Thursdays off, man. Be
Nah,
forever
man.
loved.
Nah. Okay, let's go to Comment Corner. My favorite part of the show. Beggsy is warming up to the people as well every day, even though he did say you guys had no hockey intelligence yesterday.
Oh,
when he brought up all those names.
Wow.
He said it on yesterday's episode. He brought up a whole bunch of names.
Hit us up in the comments if you knew who Justin Kirkland and Tim Gettinger were before.
But don't doubt them. Don't doubt them. They're the reason we're here.
I only doubted 92% of our listeners. I think 8% might have known.
Okay. Anyways, let's get to the comments on that Lucic video. The first comment is from Viper's Whip. This guy, Viper, went to another level with this comment. Okay, nothing about Lucic. He talked about Connor Garland. Did we talk about Garland yesterday? Maybe we did. Anyways, he said that if the Canucks have to get rid of Connor Garland's contract and have to put in a first-round pick or a second-round pick, that's way too much because Garland still has a lot of value. Not just on the ice, but I feel as if game to game, I think Connor Garland somehow, some way, still has the ability to be somewhat of a difference maker. He has that compete in him, and I think what Viper is trying to say is get rid of Besser if you need to make space. Maybe try the whole Beauvillier thing out, but keep Garland. Don't let him be a cap dump.
Yeah, and shout out to the everydayers. They would know this, but we did an episode called The Vancouver Canucks to Trade Someone Else, and it was pretty heavy on the Connor Garland talk. Like, this guy's been underutilized by the Canucks, and you could certainly see him playing 17 minutes a night on another team and start tearing it up. I just think he hasn't really gotten those opportunities in Vancouver as much as he might on another team.
Yep, 100%, 100%. Next comment. We got Kaku Casho. Nobody should sign Milan Lucic in free agency, which probably will happen too. I could see Lucic getting the whole PTO, the professional tryout route for a team, for an organization that wants to bring in that type of energy into their training camp and potentially into their roster or their press box for the season. Now, Kaku, why don't you say that to Lucic's face, man? Say it to his face. Lucic still seems like a mad guy. I'm sure he's happy and content, but I just feel as if he saw the video yesterday, right? If he saw the video yesterday and he saw all the bad things that Trevor Beck said about him, right? All the bad things. Trevor said this guy should be playing in China. He should be playing in China.
Whoa.
Trevor said he should be shipped off to China.
KHL,
and
cool
learn
and
the
Red
ropes.
Star.
All right? If he saw it, bro, he would squeeze your head. He would squeeze it.
I do have a very punchable face.
You do, man. You totally do. You totally do, man. But I appreciate, the size of your balls for doing it, man. Because your face is out here, your family's growing, and you're talking a lot of crap about the toughest guy, one of the toughest guys in the NHL. So you're definitely more courageous than I am.
Yeah, I will say that I don't think Lucic is a PTO doing some assignment for agency. Whether they should or not is another question. But I think someone's going to see the big body. They're going to see the name. They're going to fall in love with the cachet of Milan Lucic. And yeah, he's signing with an NHL team on a 1-year, $950,000 deal with some bonuses. That's my guess.
There it is, man. Another episode of Locked On Canucks. Another 45 seconds for Trevor Beggs to talk a lot of crap about Milan Lucic. Okay, Trevor Beggs, TrevorBeggs. Milan Lucic, that's his name. Punch him in the face. Why not? Why not, man? Why not? Locked On Canucks, your team every day.
Wouldn't be the first, probably won't be the last. Oh, yeah. Locked On Canucks. Shout out to the everydayers. And this is your first time listening. Welcome. We love you. I don't always talk crap about Milan Lucic, but the past couple episodes I have. But regardless, we will move on to bigger, better things here on Locked On Canucks. We'll see how we want to end the week. I think a couple topics on my mind. Ross Colton, could he be the next third line center for the Vancouver Canucks? And also the Locked On NHL mock draft. Who did Kyle and I select for the Vancouver Canucks at 11th overall? Find out on another episode of Locked On Canucks.